Travis County could raise your taxes to help out those impacted by the July floods. We'll check in on the county commissioners meeting ahead.
Plus, Governor Abbott named a new head of the state's new cyber command. More on what we know about this new department.
And an update on your rain chances, looking like it's being pushed back by a day. I'm going to explain why in your first warning weather.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at 11.
Today, Travis County commissioners are set to determine how much more people will pay in property taxes. Thanks so much for joining us on this Tuesday. I'm Avery Travis.
And I'm Will Dupree. The Travis County commissioners are meeting right now, talking through a tax increase aimed at helping those impacted by the July floods. KXAN's Barrett Tryon has been listening to those discussions. And Barrett, talk to us about where those stand now.
Yeah, so they've been in and out of executive session this morning, and when it comes down to just how much money what the county considers the average home is, it's about $200 or so for people. More than $70 of that would be for this disaster declaration. Now, it's really important to note here, this is just one-time funding. It's not something that would happen every year. Travis County Judge Andy Brown says money has been wiped out from county funds, and that money is badly needed.
The biggest part of that expense so far has been the debris costs, and the county in the debris costs and replacing some bridges and roads and staff time so far has spent $17 million on that effort. And that includes, we had a reserve of $15 million. So we spent every bit of that reserve plus $2 million. We had to dip into, I think, our capital accounts for that.
And all new this morning, one group of taxpayers say they are ready to take legal action over all of this. They don't believe that the county is allowed to use that money it'll make from these raised property taxes for anything but the flooding that we had over the summer.
They spent about $17 million responding to that disaster, but they're raising $42 million. And they explicitly said in those public hearings, it is to plan for future disasters. And I support planning for future disasters, but you can't use this trigger to skip the voters to do that. It has to be to respond to that.
Also new this morning, attorneys have asked for an opinion from the Texas Attorney General on what is legal and what is not. As of now, they're still waiting to hear back. So a developing story certainly this afternoon.
Oh, yes.
We heard from them about skipping the voice of the voters. Why don't voters get to weigh in? Remind folks.
Yeah, so this is actually because of a state law here. When a disaster happens and more money is needed for it, it actually triggers these special rules. The argument of that potential lawsuit we just talked about is they're asking for both money for this disaster and potential future disasters. So that's that little bit of a gray area that they're trying to figure out. And so hopefully we'll find that out sooner than later. And
Barrett, speaking of that state law, the Texas lawmakers recently addressed this. Is that right?
Yes, state lawmakers just actually passed a bill to address this very topic. Have some graphic here we can put up. House Bill 30 addresses how local governments calculate the property tax rate after a disaster. And it defines essential assistance as emergency sheltering people, those search and rescue efforts, and evacuation services, plus much more. Also, it looks at debris costs, which you heard Brown just talk about that a minute ago. That cost a lot of money. By the way, that law goes into effect at the first of the year. So commissioners still meeting right now. We should hopefully have a vote here shortly, so definitely have an update on 4, 5, and 6.
Barrett, thank you so much for tracking it for us.
First warning weather.
All right, we're taking a live look now outside from our Santa Rita Ranch camera. A gorgeous kickoff to our Tuesday as we're heading into the 11 o'clock hour. Looking pretty out there.
And the team is back together again today. We are going to go check in now with meteorologist Freddie Vela. And Freddie, it's nice to have all three of us here in one place finally.
It's been a bit of a time period here. We've all been in separate spots, but we're glad to all be with you one more time. We take a look right now at what we enjoy, which is seeing that beautiful sunshine. This is out of our Santa Rita Ranch camera in Liberty Hill. A few clouds still up in the sky to start off the day. Temperatures sitting at about 86 degrees in Austin, 87 in San Marcos, Fredericksburg at 78 degrees, Georgetown at 85, and Bastrop at 86 degrees. Now, this is where most of the cloud coverage is, essentially from Mason and Alano, Gillespie County, Blanco, Hayes County, and Caldwell County, with sunnier conditions within the northern part of our viewing area. As we look at your bus stop forecast, you're going to be able to see that our temperatures are expected to stay at around 96 degrees by drop-off. And by the early evening, we're looking at about 90 degrees, but your rain chances, well, that looks like it's expected to pick up, especially as we get into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. A bit of a difference from what we were forecasting, where we're expecting rain chances to pick up Thursday and then picking up into the weekend. So coming up, we're going to be discussing a bit more about the passing showers or two that we could see in the afternoon, the above average temperatures that we're expected to see over the next few days, and those weekend rain chances. We have an update on that. That's all coming up in your First Warning Weather.
Freddie, thanks so much. This afternoon, prosecutors are expected to file charges against the man they say shot and killed conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Utah's governor says that investigation into the suspect includes interviews with people who knew the alleged shooter. The governor says the suspect's roommate and romantic partner is cooperating fully with the investigation. President Trump says he will be at a memorial for Kirk this Sunday in Arizona.
To Charlie's, I guess you'd call it a funeral. There's the small one. I said, can we do the big one? Because we're going to give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is a big deal.
Vice President J.D. Vance also hosted Kirk's podcast yesterday and paid tribute to a man he called a dear friend.
The Texas Education Agency says it's looking into about 180 complaints of public school employees posting comments about Charlie Kirk's death. Republican leaders, including Governor Greg Abbott, called for educators to lose their jobs over social media posts celebrating Kirk's death or posts calling for more violence. A First Amendment attorney says freedom of speech strongly protects public school teachers in this situation, but they did say teachers could be dismissed as a last resort.
Tough position. If you have a bunch of parents saying, we don't feel comfortable with this person teaching our children, the school has to do something. Now, whether that something is terminate the teacher as a first step is another question.
On Monday, Goose Creek CISD, which is outside of Houston, said it started the process to dismiss a teacher. It noted all teachers have a right to an independent hearing. It added, though, the school board would make the final decision. Today, the governor named who will lead the state's new cybersecurity effort.
Governor Greg Abbott said Timothy James White will serve as chief of the new Texas Cyber Command. White is a retired vice admiral in the U.S. Navy and the founder of the One Network Connection LLC. During his time in the Navy, White served as commander of the U.S. Cyber National Mission Force. Governor Abbott says White's decades of service in the military and his cybersecurity experience will make him an essential asset to prevent and protect against any cyber breaches across the state. His term as chief of the Cyber Command is set to expire on February 1st, 2027.
Governor Abbott signed a bill into law in June that created the Texas Cyber Command. House Bill 150 passed back during the regular session earlier this year after the governor named this as an emergency item. According to his office, the Texas Cyber Command will launch a cyber threat intelligence center to try and identify and repair weaknesses and to educate users on preventing cyber breaches. It will also coordinate with governments on how to respond to cyber attacks and collaborate with local, state, and federal partners to establish the, quote, gold standard for cybersecurity. The department will be based in San Antonio, and it received $135 million in state funding to get started. All of that according to the governor's office.
Going in depth, a cyber attack led to the cancellation of classes for most of this week at Uvalde CISD. According to the district there, it detected ransomware in its servers that severely impacted access to essential systems like phones, AC controls, and camera monitoring. The district says it reported all of this to the FBI and other law enforcement agencies, which are now investigating. Schools are set to remain closed until Thursday.
We're now less than 50 days away from Election Day in November. Now's a good time to check if you are properly registered to vote, because today is National Voter Registration Day. The Texas Secretary of State's office recommends you double check that you're registered in your county. You can go online to votetexas.gov to check your status. Now, if you've recently moved, you can check that your address is up to date and check that your name is correct on the registration as well. The last day to register for the November election is October 6th.
Coming up, Israeli forces began their anticipated ground offensive into Gaza City. Why this latest move is drawing criticism from global leaders.
And today the world is mourning the loss of a cinematic legend. We'll hear from the Austin Film Festival about a look back at the the life of Robert Redford.
Welcome back, everyone. Robert Redford has died at the age of 89. The actor and director sailed to Hollywood stardom with turns in classics like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and All the President's Men. He also invigorated American independent cinema as one of the founders of the Sundance Film Festival.
Joining us today to talk about his impact on cinema across the country and, of course, right here in Austin is Austin Film Festival's Executive Director, Barbara Morgan. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, hi, thanks for inviting me.
You know, so many people today are mourning his loss and also just remembering his legacy, the impact he had. What stands out to you about the imprint he left on the industry?
Well, you know, he was such an amazing actor, and like at the time I grew up, I fell in love with him in Butch Cassidy. You know, it was such
and for good reason.
Yeah, exactly. It was an iconic film, and both of them were so incredible in that film. But you know, I think what the more interesting thing about him is he realized this true movie stardom, and he used it actually to help others, and that's really what the beginning of Sundance was, right? He started that in, I think, the late 70s, and though there were a lot of other film festivals, his focus was on new voices, and which is a conversation we're still having today, right? How to get that to happen. Yeah. And he just took advantage of his stardom in the auteur period and managed to bring all these new people in, like Robert Rodriguez, our you know, local hero, is one of those people that came through with El Mariachi to that festival. So many people, you know.
Incredible.
And I just want to note that Robert Redford has a lot of connections to Austin. We want to show you all some pictures from 2011 when he joined Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein to talk about the film inspired by their work into the Watergate break-in. So talk to us, Barbara, about what other connections that you have determined from Robert Redford and his career and his connections to Austin. Yeah,
I mean, you know, he used to, there were always, you know, rumors that Robert Redford is in town, you know, and when we, like after we started the festival, and then we learned that he, in fact, had a pretty large connection to Austin. I guess some family members were here, and that he had grown up swimming in Barton Springs and hanging out here, and he, I think, made a documentary with Terrence Malick about Barton Springs, you know, which is such an iconic piece here in Austin.
Right.
And used his, you know, fame to actually help draw attention to the environment. And he was, you know, he was a very complicated man. He did a lot of things. It was amazing.
Yeah.
You've talked a bit about his activism alongside his work in the industry, and then of course mentioned Sundance. Talk a little bit about the impact that the innovation he brought to the industry. What kind of impact has that had on the Austin Film Festival?
Well, I mean, we're a writers' festival, so for us, that's the thing, you know, it's part of our mission. And the auteur piece of what he did at Sundance, which is recognizing these new writers and directors, largely people who were doing their first work as writer and director outside the Hollywood system, that brought so many incredible people that we look at as iconic filmmakers today. Steven Soderbergh, Karen Kusama, you know, the David Lowery from Dallas, who actually not just made a film that got recognized there, Ain't Them Bodies Saints, but he also made a film where Robert Redford starred in it. And so, you know, that which was a huge endorsement, I think, for David Lowery's filmmaking. So he did recognize these people before other people noted them through the Institute and through the festival.
And kind of helped directed a path for them.
Yeah, absolutely. He absolutely did that. And you know, and I think in a little way, like Bill Whitliff, who was involved with us, who wrote Lonesome Dove and Legends of the Fallen stuff, he was a big writer, and Robert Redford invited him to be part of the original board when they started, and I think that impact made when we started the festival. Bill was like, "Oh, we need to do something here for that," you know. And so I mean, you know, it's like he seeded so many things, really. And I mean, was making Dark Winds, I think, is a show he was involved with. He's was still involved even up to his passing, right? Yeah. Pretty amazing.
I mean, you have seen so many different movies during your career, I would imagine. Are there any particular roles of Robert Redford's that really stand out to you to say, like, this is the defining one, at least for me?
Yeah, well, I mean, I said it. Butch Cassidy to me was. I think there was just no better. But he did so much, right? Because you know, the Watergate film was at the time. I think he optioned that book and got that project going, and that probably would have never happened without that, right? And then, of course, that became an incredibly iconic political film.
And journalism.
And journalism, yeah,
Yeah.
really. Like he clearly cared about that, you know. But, you know, there were so many. There were just almost too many for me to remember, you know.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be watching All the President's Men tonight when I go home and eat dinner. So that's going to be in honor of him. Yeah, I just love that movie.
Yeah, he and still was acting. I think like until a few years ago. What's Marvel? I think he did. You know, he played the bad guy in one of the later Marvel movies, and just what an interesting person. But clearly, his love for Utah sparked something great for certainly the indie film world.
Yeah, incredible. I think if we sat here, we could keep coming up with the list of the ways he's impacted, and we love to hear the connections to our city as well. So, Barbara, thank you so much for your insight into his life, his career, and our Austin film scene as well.
Yeah,
we
thank you.
can't wait to watch his influence continue to let it flourish.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll send it over now to Freddie for a check outside on local forecast.
Thank you very much. All right, we take a look right now at a live look out of downtown Austin through our Estonian weathered camera. Beautiful out there, and you actually can't see very much cloud coverage pickup whatsoever. Temperatures right now, we're still seeing it around 80 degrees in Mason, 79 degrees in Fredericksburg, 86 in Austin right now. Eastern counties around 86 to 87 degrees. And as we play this out, again, you get some cloud coverage essentially from Mason into Hayes County and into Caldwell County, but everyone else from Austin essentially up, just seeing nothing but sunny skies right now. We'll play this out throughout the rest of the day today. The sunnier conditions are expected to remain and continue with us as we go along. You may get an isolated spotty shower or two in the afternoon. I don't see very much of us seeing that. We're going to keep that at a less than 10% chance, more of about a 5% chance of seeing some rainfall. And then we do it all again as we get into Wednesday. Now, this model, I think, is overcooking this just a bit. I don't think we're going to see this much whatsoever. I'm going to keep us at around that 5 to 10% range of even seeing a passing shower or two. Temperatures for today, 96 degrees. Dripping Springs at 93, Blanco at 90, Lockhart at 94. In the Hill Country, we're looking about 89 to 90 degrees for the afternoon. I have a high pressure system that's pretty much dominating the area. We're going to get a ridge a trough that'll come through. Now, the issue that we're going to see here is it looks like it's pushed back by a couple of days, and that's going to affect when we could see rainfall overall. Friday now looking much clearer, and the same with Saturday. I don't see very much picking up there as well, but look at what happens as we get into Sunday. And then you start to get all this moisture that starts to flow in. That gives us that chance of rainfall, especially as we get towards the afternoon and into Monday as well. So we're going to keep that rain chance in there, starting on Sunday evening and going into Monday, really ramping up on Monday and continuing with us as we get into the middle part of next week. So this is what it looks like overall. 96 on Tuesday and Wednesday, 95 on Thursday and Friday, 94 on Saturday and Sunday. And then as we get into Monday, the first day of fall, we're looking at 92 degrees and we're putting on a 30% chance of rain there.
Freddie, thank you so much. Still to come, how a local hospital is providing care for their smallest patients through a fun event. We'll take you there after the break. Welcome back, everyone. We are taking a live look from North Austin. Our Indeed Domain Tower camera there looking south towards downtown. Hazy again. Rich was tracking some of that haze in the sky yesterday and hopefully going to get some answers on why it's sticking around. Freddie will have that in your full forecast coming up in just a couple of minutes here. First, beeps, alarms, monitors. For newborns in the neonatal intensive care unit, their world can seem isolating and scary. However, at Dell Children's Hospital here in Austin, the staff and community are working to offer comfort and critical brain development. KXAN's Tom Miller joined them for their Babies with Books readathon.
This was a book that my son had, and I'm going to read it to you.
7-week-old Blakely Moy has been at Dell Children's in Austin her entire life.
When you were too small to tell me hello, I knew you were someone I wanted to know.
Born with lungs and a heart that developed abnormally, she spent the first month intubated and on a ventilator.
For all of your tininess couldn't disguise a heart so enormous and wild and wise.
Now, safely beyond the most critical days,
What baby do you have?
Miss Blair.
Oh, she's cutie.
Blakely and the other babies here are getting help making up for lost time.
In the NICU, we know on average hear about 10,000 to 20,000 less words per day.
Dr. Ashley Luck is among the hospital staff, community members, and family closing that gap and stimulating neurodevelopment by reading around the clock.
This 2-week period of our Babies with Books Readathon is really focused on trying to maximize the positive verbal and language exposure that our babies get.
Siblings also get in on the fun. NICU Clinical Manager Melissa Marnell wants them to feel welcome before reading to baby brother or sister.
It brings a little bit of normalcy to the NICU because you can read at home to your baby, and so this kind of brings that home environment.
Given just a 20% chance of making it at birth, Dr. Luck calls Blakely a miracle baby.
This is the first time there's ever been you.
Now with a community behind her, wondering what wonderful things she will do. In Austin, Tom Miller, KXAN News.
Tom, thank you so much for that story. Dell Children's is in a friendly competition, actually, with roughly 300 other participating hospitals across the country to see who can read the most over this 2-week period. After the first week, it completed 190 reading sessions with approximately 4,000 minutes of reading. Pretty incredible stuff.
Coming up this morning, federal agents detained an Austin dog handler. We'll have more about his case coming up after this.
Plus, what you might think would be late summer allergies actually may be something else. We'll have the latest when it comes to COVID-19 infections ahead.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at 11.
Explosions lighting up the night sky as Israel escalates its war in Gaza, beginning its much anticipated ground offensive into Gaza City.
It also comes as a new report by an independent United Nations commission says Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. NBC's Matt Bradley reports now from Tel Aviv.
Well, that's right. Israel just began its much anticipated and very controversial ground incursion into Gaza City. And that's where we saw explosions lighting up the night sky overnight. And this has been months in the making, but military officials and those close to the government caution that this operation could last quite a while. And it's likely to inspire still more criticism of Israel. The families of the remaining hostages have complained, and they're protesting yesterday and today that this could put their loved ones' lives at risk. Now, it also means that the 350,000 Palestinians who are still thought to be in Gaza City are at risk as well, though according to an Israeli military official, hundreds of thousands, about half of the population there, is already thought to have left. Now, all of this comes as we're hearing from the United Nations. An independent commission, a 3-panel body of experts, have said that there is genocide in the Gaza Strip that is being committed by the Israelis. They've said that 4 out of the 5 legal criteria for meeting that definition of genocide have been met, but the Israelis have slammed the report, calling it false. Matt Bradley, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
First warning weather.
Back here in Central Texas, we're taking another look at that Indeed domain tower camera there. Quite hazy. It was looking like this yesterday, too.
Yeah, that look is continuing into another day. So let's get over to meteorologist Freddie Vela for a look at the radar to tell us what's going on out there.
Yeah, we're still seeing that hazy conditions stick around. It looks like that's going to be the case over the next couple of days. In case you're wondering where a lot of that cloud coverage is, it's still pretty far away. So even with the hazy conditions, we've at least been able to get some sunshine out there. Temperatures already still within the low 90s, upper 80s in many spots. But that's that look one more time out of our Indeed camera at the domain. You can see we're still at about 86 degrees in Austin, 87 in San Marcos, Fredericksburg at 79, but the farther east you go, the higher the temperatures have been getting, where we've seen just a couple of them already closer to 90. As you can see with our high temperature for today, we're going to be back up to around 96 degrees for the day itself. But I do want to look forward by at least 7 days because we do have the first day of fall arriving. That's right, fall does begin on Monday at 1:19 p.m. We aren't expecting a wonderful sunny day. We're actually expecting the possibility of a few showers. So coming up, we'll be talking a bit more about not only the passing showers or two that we could see today and tomorrow, but why we're going to have to wait a few more days to at least get a decent chance of rainfall. And then, of course, your temperatures, well, they're looking above average. I'll let you know how cool or hot it will be on the very first day of fall. That's coming up in your first warning weather.
Freddie, thank you for tracking it for us. An immigration attorney says she's scheduled to meet with her client today after federal immigration agents detained the Austin dog handler last week. The attorney says it happened when he showed up for his routine check-in. C. Ray Traore has been in Austin for about 2 years and has legal documents to be here. Now there is a campaign pushing for more answers. To spread awareness about him and his case, his co-workers and friends started this campaign. His attorney says while he has not been in any trouble, he does have a work permit allowing him to be legally in the U.S. He did enter the country illegally, though, back in 2023, seeking asylum from West Africa. His asylum case court date is set for next year. Under the Trump administration, his attorney says he could be deported before then.
So what they're saying is, hey, anybody that's here for less than 2 years, we can do an expedited removal of that person, despite them having an upcoming court date, despite them going through the proper channels.
Traore is being held at the Karnes County Immigration Processing Center. We reached out to ICE for more information about his detainment. It tells us it's looking into his case, so we'll update you and this story online when we find out more details about this. President Trump is a step closer to sending the National Guard to Memphis. On Monday, the president signed a memo in the Oval Office establishing a federal task force. He says the Memphis Safe Task Force is a step towards deploying the Guard and other law enforcement agencies. He says that includes FBI and ICE.
This team will deploy the full powers of federal law enforcement agencies and enforcement generally to restore public safety and get dangerous career criminals off of our streets.
Some Democratic leaders in the city say they do not want the National Guard there.
So we have to understand that this is not just a Memphis problem, it's a Tennessee problem. That's correct. So we need to make sure that we align ourselves, make sure that our communities are not subject to government overreach.
The president also suggested that Chicago and St. Louis could be next.
We're getting a closer look at a fire that started after a car took out a gas meter and then a garage in Cedar Park. It happened at about 8 last night on Timberwood near Whitestone Boulevard in 183. This is very close to Giddens Elementary School. Investigators say everyone in the house got out safely. According to the Cedar Park Fire Department, officers arrested a man for suspicion of driving under the influence. Neighbors did evacuate their homes briefly, but first responders let them back in at about 10 o'clock last night.
Austin police have arrested 4 people in connection to a burglary case in the West Campus area. Visitors staying at an Airbnb say they found some suspects inside stealing their luggage. The suspects fled, and the victims tracked one of their stolen items to a home on 21st Street. Austin police arrested these 4 that you're seeing here on your screen on various charges, including burglary. They also found a woman who claimed she was sexually assaulted and drugged. Medics took her to the hospital.
As many local school districts begin the second month of classes, new concerns about the vaccinations and your children are arising. Doctors say 95% of children should be vaccinated against measles, mumps, and rubella to protect against an outbreak. That's called herd immunity. However, an NBC News review of data found in our viewing area, only Bastrop, Fayette, Caldwell counties reported that the MMR rates are above 95%. However, that review found the vast majority of parents in the U.S. do vaccinate their kids with at least some of the recommended shots.
Well, many of us are feeling it, what may seem like summer allergies, but if you've got a stuffy nose or a sore throat, it could actually be COVID. According to wastewater testing data from the Center for Disease Control, there are very high counts of COVID here in Travis County. Doctors tell us fewer people are getting tested, which makes the virus more difficult to track and treat.
It is difficult when patients are coming in or they're coming in after the fact. Maybe they've been sick for a week or 2 and they're still feeling bad. At that point, it's hard to say, well, maybe that was COVID, maybe it wasn't, and then just kind of dealing with the symptoms afterwards.
COVID vaccines are available for people over the age of 65 or with certain medical conditions.
Going in depth on the wastewater monitoring program, the CDC says before the wastewater is treated, operators do send samples to the lab. Those results come in about 5 to 7 days or so. And it's not just infections under the microscope. In some parts of the country, this method is also being used to track fentanyl and other drug consumption. For example, San Francisco started this 2 years ago to track trends and improve the city's response.
Well, the football season has really just begun, but several starting quarterbacks have been sidelined in the NFL. We'll tell you which teams have injured players ahead.
A wild finish in Houston on Monday Night Football, and Longhorns one final home game before the SEC, and everybody wants to see what this passing game can do. I've got more on Arch Manning coming up.
This is KXAN Sports, brought to you by Thomas J. Henry.
Good morning. Well, maybe some more intrigue than first thought for this Texas Sam Houston State game, primarily because of the Longhorn offense. Longhorns and certainly their fans want to see some improvements, particularly in the passing game. It was a struggle for Arch Manning and the offense, at one point missing on 10 consecutive passes against UTEP, just 114 passing yards. Question to Steve Sarkisian on Monday, did he consider making a quarterback switch at any point?
If Arch was having a bunch of mental errors and not operating the offense well, then that maybe would have required to take him out. I didn't feel like that was the case.
Yeah, it was frustrating, obviously, because I know I'm better than that, but we're going to be better this week, and we're going to get clicking on offense, and I'm excited to get going.
I thought Arch had a great practice this morning. I think so many times what happens is you could start looking at yourself, beating yourself up, focusing on yourself. Well, it's already hard enough. The other team's already trying to beat you up. The other team's already trying to knock you down. So let's not self-inflict wounds onto ourselves. Let's take some of that frustration and anger out on them.
It helps a lot, and having him just be honest with me and tell me what he thinks and how I can get better. It's great to have that back and forth with the head coach, and I'm blessed to have him in my corner.
I thought he did a great job and came out with a great kind of focus and energy about him. That is what I'm accustomed to. And so I anticipate he's going to, right this ship quickly. And that's a credit to the players and coaches around him and helping him do that.
Don't forget Texas Game Day an hour before kick on Saturday on KBVO. They will be live from Bevo Boulevard. Monday Night Football in Houston, Texans playing host to the Bucs. That means Baker Mayfield back in his home state. This was a wild finish. Texans had done nothing on the ground until just over 2 minutes to go. Nick Chubb, touchdown. Texans take the lead. They go for two, don't get it, so it's a 5-point lead. And, well, then Baker Mayfield and the Bucs take over. Mayfield on 4th and 10. With 1:24 to go in timeouts, they elect not to punt it away, but go for it, and Mayfield scrambles, giving up his body for it, and well, that leads to a drive that culminates inside the 5 with Rachaad White. Gut punch loss for the Texans. They fall to 0-2 with the loss, and they get the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 3. Meantime, downtown Houston, Astros beat the Rangers. Big one there. Astros now a half game out at first. Rangers fall to 3 back in the wild card. Back to you.
Roger, thank you. We are 2 weeks into the regular season of the National Football League. We know that deeply at my house. Already 5 starting quarterbacks, though, are hurt this early in the season. Get this, San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy, hurt his toe Week 1. In Week 2, Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels hurt his knee. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow hurt his toe. New York Jets, Justin Fields suffered a concussion. And to round it out, Minnesota Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy hurt his ankle. So a lot of teams real worried about what their season's going to look like.
Not the best luck, I would say, to start off the season that way.
And listen, a hurt toe, you don't mess around with that. It's more painful than it sounds.
Ouch.
Yeah.
None of them are on my fantasy football league.
You're in the clear.
I'm in the clear.
Oh my God.
My
you just jinxed yourself,
right?
Buddy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
Careful
just
now.
jinxed yourself.
I'm actually leading on the KXAN Fantasy League, by the way, for any of our KXAN staffers that are watching.
Give you a little
Number
golf
one.
clap.
You know where I'm ranked?
Number 1 over here.
On the sideline. I don't have a team on the hunt this time.
Okay.
But you weren't very happy about the Bucs coming home to take on the Texans.
No.
That's all you got to say about that, right?
No comment.
That game held no interest for me at all.
Well, it's something that is in everyone's interest is when are the leaves going to change colors here?
Oh.
I have an update on this because fall is just a few days away. I figured why not bust out the average peak color timing? This is courtesy of explorefall.com. And just to kind of get an idea of when our leaves are going to change color. You can see, obviously, those in green have to wait a little longer. We'll zoom into the rest of the state of Texas. You can see even in yellow, late October, the Panhandle. Then we get to early November, and then we get to mid-November, and then we have to go all the way down to the last one, which is late November for most of central Texas. Those in the hill country will get at least some changing of the color there. Now, obviously, if we get some colder temperatures that start flowing in a bit more, well, then we'll update this. But as of now, this is on average when we have to wait for those colors to change. A little bit of in-depth for you there. All right. We take a look at clouds and radar at this point. Still seeing a few clouds that have been rolling in. I'll zoom out a bit more for the rest of the state of Texas. No rainfall for today. Big change from what we saw yesterday where we did have at least some type of rainfall across central Texas from Austin to South Texas. But as of today, so far, not very much picking up on our radar whatsoever. I'll play this out throughout the rest of the day today, 2 p.m. You're still going to see mostly sunny skies out there. We get into the afternoon, into the evening, and even into tomorrow, looking at mostly dry conditions. Tomorrow, this model is very excited about seeing some showers. I'm going to say we'll keep it around the 5% range more than anything else. So because of that, I expect for our temperatures to at least move back up into the mid-90s. Now remember, average around this time of year, 92 degrees. This would be 4 degrees above that. Hopefully we can stay just a bit farther away. But it looks like we're going to have to wait at least until Monday, which is the first day of fall, to even get close to average temperatures because of the cloud coverage and because of the rainfall. I actually had to push that back by a day or two just because of what we're seeing out there. That high pressure going to be dominating a bit more. That trough doesn't look like it's really going to take an effect until Sunday into Monday. So most of the models now pulling out all the rainfall for Saturday itself. We have to go all the way into Sunday evening into Monday for even the first chance of seeing a few showers out there. That'll last with us throughout most of Monday, and by Tuesday we're expecting mostly dry conditions. We're taking a look at the tropics and what's going on out there right now. 2 areas of interest. These are the latest numbers that have popped up. We have one that's farther west in the Atlantic, 90% chance of that actually developing over the next 2 and 7 days, and then that next wave that's coming off of the coast of Africa, that one a 20% chance of it developing, and then we're also watching one in the Pacific, 70% chance of that developing over the next 7 days. We also have Mario, still a tropical storm, that not expected to really do anything else other than start losing some steam and then falling apart as it moves farther into the northwest. 7-day forecast, mid-90s as we go along. And look at the game on Saturday, 94 degrees, a 10% chance of maybe a passing shower or two. And by the time we get to Sunday, 94 degrees. And the first day of fall, 92. Rich?
It will be nice to see a little bit of rain this month because we have only had 2 days of rain, 0.04 of an inch of rain on the 6th and the 7th, and that's been it. Why has it been so dry this September? Well, a couple of things that are going on right now. First of all, we've had high pressure in and around the area for the entire first half of the month, minus the 2 days where we had that front slip through the area. The only thing that front did for us was it knocked out the humidity for a couple of days in the early part of the month. So no rainmakers for us. There's been no help from the tropics either. And in addition to that, the lack of rain has contributed to an increase in the drought from abnormally dry to a moderate drought in parts of Travis, Hayes, Bastrop, Caldwell, and a small part of Lee County. So right now we are in 6th place for the driest September ever with that 0.08 of an inch in 2025, but there have been much wetter Septembers, topped by 20.78, and that happened in 1921. So this is why we've been so dry, and we'll welcome any rain that we can get whenever it happens. Avery?
Rich, thank you so much. Big names coming to Coachella 2026. We'll tell you about the headliners preparing to hit that big festival stage.
And a look at what you can watch today on KXAN Plus. That's our free streaming app. At 1 o'clock this afternoon, it's The Horns Report, followed by Eric Henrikson's Space at 1:30. Then coming up tonight at 6:30, it's Tracking the Tropics. Weather Answers with meteorologist Rich Siegel at 8 o'clock and Border Report at 8:30. Rich is giving me a countdown in my ear. I appreciate it. So we are just weeks from Austin City Limits Music Festival. A lot of us are getting excited for that. But another major festival is announcing its lineup today. Coachella out in California will have Sabrina Carpenter, Justin Bieber, and Karol G serving as the headliners. The festival runs the second and third weekends in April next year. Passes, though, go on sale this Friday at 1 in the afternoon, our time, if you're happening to be in the market for those. But I mean, it's nice to see. Sabrina's going to be there in Coachella, but she will be here headlining ACL as well.
I have to say, I really like that shot of Sabrina, Justin Bieber, and then Will on the end. I said, those are all my favorite famous people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, that is a stretch. I think you need to expand your borders there. Yeah.
But it's so cool to see them there. Sabrina, for sure, you know, obviously she's having a run right now, especially with the new album and stuff. So it's something, you know, that we all can't wait for. ACL, the countdown to that, and the countdown to other days, too. Let's go ahead and take a look at your holiday countdown, because I just want everyone to know that we only have 100 days till Christmas.
My heart.
Yeah. Hanukkah, 89 days. Thanksgiving, 72 days. Halloween is 45 days. So, yes, you can decorate already, in my opinion. And then fall is just 6 days away.
Wow.
Good reminder there. Start shopping, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll be right back after the break. Another check on your forecast and more headlines for you.